She thought it would be just another sunny afternoon in the neighborhood, the kind where everyone minded their own business. But that illusion shattered the moment a spray bottle hissed through the air. A decorated veteran's service dog whimpered, its fur soaked with chemicals, while a woman smirked with satisfaction. The crowd froze, unsure what they'd just witnessed. But when the police arrived and revealed the truth, the smugness drained from her face. Because this wasn't just cruelty. This was a federal crime. Marcus Johnson had lived in this HOA community for 3 years. A black Marine veteran, he moved there after his deployment to find peace and raise his son in safety. His constant companion was Daisy, a golden retriever, trained to alert him during PTSD episodes. Daisy wasn't just a dog, she was his lifeline, his family, and his guardian through long nights of memories that still haunted him. The neighborhood on the surface looked welcoming, manicured lawns, quiet cul-de-sacs, and polite smiles. But beneath it all, Marcus noticed the sideways glances, the whispered comments when he walked past, the not-so-subtle reminders that he didn't quite fit in. And then there was Linda, known in whispers as the HOA Karen. She was always watching, always criticizing. If Marcus's lawn grew an inch too long, she'd send a notice. If Daisy barked, she'd complain at the next HOA meeting. Her distaste wasn't about rules, it was about Marcus himself, on that day. Marcus simply wanted a calm walk with Daisy. But Karen saw something else, an opportunity to remind him of where she thought he belonged. The walk began as usual. Daisy trotted happily by Marcus's side, tail wagging, service vest strapped securely across her back. Marcus wore his cap low, enjoying the rare moment of peace. But as he turned the corner, he spotted Karen standing near her garden with a spray bottle in hand. Her eyes narrowed, locked on Daisy. "You people never follow the rules," she muttered under her breath, but loud enough for Marcus to hear. He kept walking, choosing not to engage. He'd learned that silence often protected his peace. But Karen wasn't finished. She stepped forward, the hiss of the spray bottle cutting through the afternoon air. In seconds, Daisy yelped, her eyes watering, fur damp with chemicals. Marcus froze, horror coursing through him. "What are you doing?" he shouted, but Karen just sneered. "She's just an animal. Animals don't belong here. Maybe now you'll learn." Neighbors peeked through curtains, some even standing at their porches, watching. No one moved. No one spoke. Marcus dropped to his knees, checking Daisy, his hands trembling with fear and rage. She coughed softly, pressing against him for comfort. And then came the whispers. "It's just a dog. He's overreacting." Karen has a point. Marcus's heart pounded. For years, he'd endured microaggressions, subtle exclusions, and unspoken hostility. But this wasn't subtle. This was cruelty, an attack not just on his service animal, but on his dignity. Shaking with anger, Marcus dialed 911. His voice cracked as he reported what happened, knowing deep down that justice often looked different when your skin was black. Would the police even believe him? Or would they dismiss Daisy as just a pet? Within minutes, flashing lights painted the street. 2 officers stepped out, their radios crackling. The crowd leaned closer, curious now that authority had arrived. Marcus held Daisy tightly as he explained, pointing at the spray bottle still clutched in Karen's hand. Karen crossed her arms, rolling her eyes. "This is ridiculous. He's just making a scene. That mutt was on my lawn." The officers looked at Daisy's vest. Their expressions shifted instantly. One of them turned to Karen, his tone sharp. "Ma'am, do you realize what you've just done?" Karen scoffed. "I sprayed a dog, so what?" But the officer's reply silenced the entire street. "This isn't just a dog," the officer said firmly, pointing at Daisy's bright service vest. "This is a federally protected service animal, interfering, harming, or harassing. A service dog is a federal crime. The words hung heavy in the air. Karen's smug grin faltered. Her arms, once crossed in defiance, slowly dropped to her sides. "What? No! That's insane! It was just water!" she stammered, but the officer cut her off. "Chemical sprays, intentional harassment, physical interference, it doesn't matter. You attacked a service animal. That's the law." Gasps rippled through the neighborhood. For the first time, the bystanders who had been silent began whispering to each other, not in support of Karen, but in disbelief at the seriousness of her actions. Marcus rose to his feet, still holding Daisy close. His eyes met Karen's, not with anger anymore, but with something deeper, something sharper. Vindication. The officer called for backup, requesting an animal welfare unit to check Daisy's condition. Another officer began documenting the scene, photographing the spray bottle and questioning witnesses. Karen's protests grew louder, more desperate, but the authority in the officer's voice drowned her out. "You could face fines, charges, even jail time," he warned. "This isn't your HOA's playground, this is federal law." And in that moment, the so-called HOA Karen wasn't in control anymore. She wasn't dictating rules or humiliating neighbors. She was exposed, her cruelty illuminated for everyone to see. Daisy recovered later that evening, treated by a local vet who confirmed the spray had been a harsh chemical but hadn't caused permanent damage. Marcus sat by her side, the entire time, silently grateful, silently angry. Karen, meanwhile, faced charges she never imagined possible. News spread quickly through the community, and suddenly those who once stayed silent began speaking out. Old stories emerged, how she harassed children, targeted families of color, and used the HOA as her personal weapon. The mask had slipped, and people could no longer pretend not to see. For Marcus, justice wasn't just about Karen facing consequences. It was about something larger, the reminder that cruelty, when unchecked, grows, that silence, when chosen, empowers the abuser, and that dignity, when defended, can shake even the most oppressive walls. As Daisy rested her head on his lap, Marcus thought about every veteran who struggled in silence, every person of color who endured Karens of their own, every service animal that wasn't just a dog, but a lifeline. The next HOA meeting was quieter than ever. Karen wasn't there. And though the scars of that day wouldn't fade easily, Marcus knew he had done more than defend his dog. He had reminded an entire community of what real courage looked like. Because in the end, the story wasn't about a service dog being sprayed. It was about a truth too many ignore. Injustice hides in plain sight until someone dares to confront it. And so I leave you with this. If a decorated veteran and his loyal service dog can face such cruelty in their own neighborhood,